Well, less than 2 weeks after the Department of Justice released a scathing report on the Albuquerque Police Department's use of excessive force, another deadly police shooting has happened. The APD says the 19-year-old Mary Hawks died Monday after an altercation with police in which she allegedly stole a truck and later pointed a gun at officers. Hawks stands as the third person in 5 weeks to be killed by APD police and the first since the department was put under federal orders to reduce their use of deadly force. Tension over police conduct escalated last month after police shot and killed a homeless camper in the foothills of the Sandia Mountains. Video later showed police officers firing multiple shots on James Boyd, who was ultimately found to be unarmed. I was joined earlier by RT's Ramon Galindo from our LA studio, and I first asked him to tell us about the latest regarding today's press conference.
That's right, Amir. As you mentioned, it all happened on Monday morning when Officer Jeremy Deere shot and killed 19-year-old Mary Hawks. Now, today at a press conference, the police chief said that Officer Deere was wearing a lapel camera when this shooting happened. However, they said that they were not able to recover any of the video on that camera, so they've sent the camera into the manufacturer to see if they can recover any sort of evidence. Today at the press conference, the police chief also said that 32 caliber semi-automatic pistol was recovered from the scene. Now, it's alleged that the officer was following the young woman because she was suspected of auto theft. When she was confronted, she allegedly pointed the gun at the officer, and that's when he fired, fearing for his life. However, there is no video of this incident, so it remains under investigation.
And the officer who pulled the trigger during the shooting has been identified, as you mentioned. Has he already been cleared of wrongdoing?
Well, as of right now, Jeremy Deere, he is on paid administrative leave. The police chief said that law enforcement agencies are conducting an investigation into the shooting itself, and there's also an internal affairs investigation. However, this is not the first time that Officer Deere has been linked to a controversial shooting. Back in 2011, he was on the scene when Alan Gomez was shot and killed by SWAT officers. Now, Officer Deere, he was interviewed several times after the shooting, but it was found that he changed his story at least 2 times in subsequent interviews. Now, the family of Mr. Gomez, the man who was shot and killed by the SWAT officer in 2011, sued the city and eventually settled for nearly $1 million. The victim's family, Mr. Gomez's family, they talked to local media after this most recent shooting there in Albuquerque and said that they don't believe a word that Deere has said unless the video proves otherwise. And as I mentioned earlier, there is no video of it, so there's still a lot of skepticism on whether he's being honest about this shooting as well.
And was that documented in the DOJ report that was issued?
Absolutely. In the DOJ report, this SWAT shooting that Officer Deere was present at was one of the incidents that was mentioned in the investigation in which the Department of Justice investigators called the shooting reckless.
All right, now going into that DOJ report, you know, we've since heard that the members of the Police Oversight Commission have resigned, some members, I should say. Now that's the board in place to hold the department accountable for these kinds of incidents. What happened there?
Yeah, three members of the Police Officers Commission quit. In their resignation letter, they slammed the city attorney, saying that they really have no teeth and really no power to serve as an advocate for civilians. They note the rules that are in place right now really don't give them any power to challenge any findings that the police chief says about citizens' complaints. And when we look back at the DOJ report, this is one of the biggest criticisms that they mentioned in the report against Albuquerque police, saying that the broken civilian oversight is really part of the problem that contributes to excessive force. And of course, this is not exclusive to Albuquerque. We've seen oversight boards here in Los Angeles County also complain of having not enough power to really reform police departments.
And Ramon, the DOJ report was, of course, a long time coming. Lots of scrutiny on this police department. How far back does this really go?
Sure. Well, according to the Albuquerque Journal, the local paper there in New Mexico, since 2010, these cases of excessive force by the Albuquerque Police Department have cost the taxpayers $23 million, and that tab is really only expected to continue to grow. In Riley Balca's book, Rise of the Warrior Cop, he documents scandals such as the ones that we're seeing right now in Albuquerque going back to the 1990s. And since then, there have been attempts to reform. The use of technology is one of those tactics, lapel cameras, recording devices. But even in the DOJ investigation, they found that many times this technology really doesn't contribute to accountability. While they were there on the ground, they saw that many police officers do use their lapel cameras and these recorder devices properly. But when it comes to the incidents of excessive force, a lot of times these cameras weren't turned on or they weren't used to record the incident properly. And as in this latest shooting that happened on Monday, we obviously see that a lapel camera didn't capture the incident. So it's still a lot of work to be done as far as accountability goes.
Well, details on this latest investigation are forthcoming. It should be interesting to see how it all pans out. All right, RT correspondent Ramon Galindo, thank you.